Hey y'all, hey, it's JJ Conway. Welcome to Building Wealth Together, where our goal is to help you walk in abundance and leave a legacy. It's Mindset Monday, where we take the best teachings on mindset, motivation, and leadership and apply them to your life. This helps you get past the past and grow forward into abundance. Let's get into it. So for me, part of being intentional with this podcast and intentional with my business is getting back to basics, getting back to first principles, as they would say in physics. What are the foundational things from which I built everything else? And one of those foundational things, and this is what was the precursor to Mindset Monday. Does anybody remember this? We used to have Maxwell Mondays. I started Maxwell Monday in like 2017, and I came home from the John Maxwell conference and I started dialing into the mentorship calls. And if you've ever wanted to grow your business, I highly encourage joining the John Maxwell team and partaking in mentorship. Even if you don't want to be a speaker, trainer, or coach, the fact that you get access to these world-class leaders and you can dial in and ask them questions, it has helped my business immensely every time that I've taken advantage of it. And so that's one of those first principles that I'm making a commitment to myself to do, is to get back on those calls like I used to be on those calls and ask my questions and build my business. But one of the first things we did, and this is the precursor to the podcast, one of the first things we did after I became John Maxwell certified was to start Maxwell Mondays. And I basically did this off of the advice of the president of the company at the time. Was like, pick a set time and a set place, and every week at that same time and place, you teach a telephone class on Maxwell content. And at that time I was only licensed to teach, I think I was licensed to teach 21 laws of the 21 irrefutable laws of leadership. And then I think the other one was the 15 laws of growth. And so I think I started with 15 laws of growth because at the John Maxwell conference, they gave us a packet of how to lead the first two classes of that. I said, well, I'll start with that and we'll see what happens. And so every Monday until the pandemic hit, every Monday at, I think it was 11:30, was it 11 or 11:30, whatever it was, I would go out to my car. I don't know if you guys remember this. I would go take my lunch break, go out to my car, and I would teach Maxwell Mondays. And every so often I would have a meeting or something where I couldn't do it, and I would pre-record it on Free Conference Call, and then I would broadcast it on Free Conference Call at that time, because Free Conference Call had just picked up that ability for you to rebroadcast stuff. And so, I mean, for years, that's what we did. And the only reason I stopped doing Maxwell Mondays was because Maxwell himself, John C. Maxwell himself, during the pandemic started doing Maxwell Mondays at exactly the same time. And I was like, well, gee, if people have a choice to listen to me versus listening to him, well, I guess they're going to listen to him. And so I brought in other people and other books and other things like that. And that was good. I think it was really good. For the last 3 years, I've done a lot of other people's work. But today we're going to return back to first principles, and we're going to kick off our year together with intentional living. We are building wealth together, and that means iron is sharpening iron. I'm sharpening you, you're sharpening me, and together we're getting where we want to go. So we're going to get back to first principles. We're going to start off the year with intentional living. I've got behind me in my bookcase, I've got, which you won't be able to see because I'm recording this as audio, which is another thing that we're doing to get back to first principles. In the past, I have held up the podcast because I couldn't get to where I could record it as a video. And I know that YouTube really loves it when you record video. But it's like, you know what? It's going to be more important to get these things out until we get everything caught up than it is going to be to put everything perfect on video and have the studio and all that kind of stuff together. So with all the moving and everything that's going on, it's just, we got to do what we got to do. And so, what it really comes down to is, and this is why we're starting with this chapter, what it really comes down to is putting other people first. And so if you've got a copy of Intentional Living, you're welcome to join me. I'm starting off on chapter 5. It's at page 105 of the book, Put Other People First. And for me, it's like, okay, there's a thing that one of my mentors used to say: do you want to be right or do you want to be rich? And what he meant by that is sometimes we can argue our position so strongly that we miss out on the bigger picture, and we miss out on the opportunities that would come if we would just take a step back and allow the other person to save face, allow the other person to be right, or allow the other person to achieve their goals and to be an assistant to them achieving their goals. And so in this case, it's like, well, I really like the fact that my YouTube is growing. I love the fact that we've gained over 6,000 subscribers now. Like, that's so cool to me, right? Like they, I get maybe a couple hundred views on some videos. Some videos I get like 2 views, and I'm like, huh. I guess that one wasn't that great, or the title wasn't that catchy, because I should at least get 100 views off of off of a catchy title, and maybe they don't watch it more than 10 seconds, but I should at least get 100 views, right? So I find that having a larger YouTube channel does give me some real good insights, some really good metrics, and that's really exciting. But the reality is there's too much going on to keep it cooped up just because I can't get the video studio corrected. So we're like, okay, we're going to do a lot more of these audio versions. And I hope that's okay for you today. We'll get back to the video soon. And for those of you who are new, I bought a new computer. It doesn't work with all the stuff that I had, all the cameras and the mics and the setup and everything. So I've been fighting with that for 6 months. And I've been fighting with a lot of stuff for 6 months. And finally just saying, okay, we're going to start over. We're going to bring in some experts, design me a system. I'm going to step away from this one laptop to do it all. I'm going to have a studio system, and then I'm going to have a travel system, right, for backups. But I'm going to structure my life to mostly where most of my recording doesn't have to be done on the road. So, like, these are the kinds of things where I am being intentional about. But in my being intentional is all about how am I going to serve others. Because a lot of the things that I've been doing in my business, and maybe you've had the same problem in your business, a lot of the things that I've been doing in my business has been about serving me, making sure I look good, making sure that I catch the eye of the influencers that I want to catch the eye of, or the people whose stages I want to be on, things like that. And so it's important that we look at other people first and what do other people need. And right now, people are hurting. Their pandemic businesses are failing. They left their toxic jobs and they don't want to have to go back to toxicity. And they're looking for hope that they can make this thing work. And I have what people need. And like Dr. Cheryl Wood always says, somebody's waiting on what you're sitting on. And we can sit on what's inside of us for so many reasons. And one of those is we want it to be perfect. We want it to look good. We don't want to mess up a good thing. And we're worried about being improper or inappropriate, all those kinds of things. But when we put other people first, we realize, you know what, there is somebody out there that needs to hear how they can be intentional and move forward in their business. And they really don't care right now if it's audio or visual, as long as they get the information they need, right? All right, so we are, again, in chapter 5 of Intentional Living. If you don't have a copy of the book, I will drop a link for you in the show notes. You got to get a copy of the book. And it's really a great book. It's a great book for your own personal development. It's a great book to lead your team through a mastermind. It's a great book. Look, it's a great book for almost every business that you have. Any kind of service business, you can minister to your clients through this book, right? You can, if you're in fitness and you're trying to encourage people to get their lives together. I guess if you're in fitness right now, this is the month that you're like totally booming in business, so you probably don't need this advice yet. But in March, when everybody gives up on their New Year's resolution, this is the kind of book that you can use, and you can take your clients through this book and help remotivate them to get back into the workouts, right? If you have a salon, if you have a restaurant, some restaurants are greasy spoons, and that's why people go, and they know that. But a lot of restaurants today are trying to have, they're trying to fill a need. They're trying to, every business should be filling a need. I had that question one time on one of my Thursday night classes, and I encourage you to join in the Thursday night classes if you haven't yet. Every Thursday night, 8:30 Central, 9:30 Eastern. I had somebody said, well, so can you make money by serving people? And I'm like, the only way to make money is by serving people. And so when we look at this chapter of put other people first, we find that by putting other people first and helping them achieve their goals, we can achieve our goals. And we position ourselves as the people that can help them achieve their goals. And so I encourage you to get a copy of this book. I encourage you to apply it to your business. I was using the example of a restaurant. If you're a restaurant, even if you're a greasy spoon, because my first thought was, healthier eating and less time cleaning and more time with family. Like you could really take the angle of using your restaurant as some part of somebody's intentional program to improve their quality of life, to improve their relationships, to enjoy the fruit of their labor without going into, extreme debt, or something. I don't know. You can really put it together. But it says here, if we will put other people's interests at the top of our priorities. Okay, and that's really what this chapter is about. Is we're putting other people at the top of our priorities. And when we begin to do that, when we are able to put other people at the top of our priority list, not only does it allow us to serve more people, which is the lifeblood of our businesses, but it also allows us to have greater accessibility to people. And so I love this example that John Maxwell did, and I have applied this example in my life, and I have found that I have grown a lot simply by incorporating this principle. He says on page 106, he says that he felt in his next church, his second church, wanted him to become, they wanted to build a great church. And he says, I'm on page 106. I became increasingly aware of the need to become a better leader during this season. I was young and full of energy. I didn't lack confidence, but I did lack experience. So I looked for help. I decided to try and connect with the pastors of the 10 largest churches in America. I wanted to learn from them. But I wondered, how do I get people like that to give time to someone like me, a kid leading a church nobody ever heard of? I came up with an idea. I would offer them $100 for 30 minutes of their time so that I could interview them and ask questions. That was a lot of money to us, but I was willing to invest in my ongoing growth, just as I had when I bought the kit from Kurt Kampmeyer. Oh, yeah, his personal growth kit. We talked about that a couple years ago. I wrote each pastor a note with my request. 2 of the 10 agreed to meet with me. I went to those meetings with 4 or 5 pages of written questions. I noted the time that I arrived at their office, and as soon as I could, after introductions and relational pleasantries, I started asking questions. I asked as many as I could as fast as I could and take notes. When I saw that my 30 minutes were up, I thanked them for their time and offered them the $100. I also asked them to help connect me with those other 8 large church pastors. In the end, I got a chance to meet with all of them. For several years, Margaret and I based our vacation destinations on the cities where these large churches were located so that I could keep those appointments. And then he says in the next section, big wins. Lancaster grew to be the church I had dreamed of. We helped a lot of people and we made an impact in the community. The church grew, and once again, we were outgrowing our facilities and had to look for expansion options. And so I love this. I love the fact that he was willing to get outside of his comfort zone and he was willing to build his life based around his dream. And I feel like that's what a lot of us are lacking today. See, we're in this culture of YouTube and TikTok and Clubhouse, and it's very appealing to think that we're going to get something for nothing. We're going to show up to this and show up to that, and we're going to get all the free nuggets from this hotel room conference, and then we're going to go back and implement it, and we're going to be filthy rich. I don't really like the term filthy rich. I probably shouldn't use the term filthy rich because filthy rich implies that there's something wrong with being wealthy. And I don't think there's anything wrong with being wealthy. I don't think there's anything wrong with being rich. I think that people are called to walk in abundance, and whatever level of abundance is placed in your hand, you have a responsibility to be a wise steward of that. And I think that our ability to be a wise steward, along with our personality and our callings and giftings will determine what we end up having in life. And so some of those things we can't control, but some of those things are within our control, and how we manage what the Lord has given us is certainly in our control. But the thing is if we are always looking for free this and free 99, then we may never be able to make the change. You've already been living your life with free coaching. You've already been living your life by YouTube. You've already been living your life by the rooms in TikTok and Clubhouse. And then you find that for very few of us, are any of those things actual money making opportunities. I mean, you can have a ton of, even my YouTube channel, you can have a ton of followers. But if nobody's paying you, if nobody's buying your stuff, if nobody's clicking long enough to watch and they're clicking through all the ads and you're not making any ad revenue, well, then you are not being successful in the way that you think that you're being successful. You're not being successful in the way that the numbers are being successful. And if you're finding yourself in that situation, then maybe it's time to actually pay to play. Now, pay to play may not mean offering $100. Maybe it means serving. Maybe it means volunteering at somebody's conference and you want to get close with that person. Maybe it looks like being an affiliate for that person. You don't have $100, but you have time. And so you're an affiliate for that person and you help sell their courses. Maybe it looks like selling something of value to you, letting go of something of one value so you can reach to something of a higher value, and giving the person who can help you grow what's important to them. So in other words, you're getting on their agenda before you expect them to get on your agenda. Now, I realize as I get ready to close, I realize that I'm talking about two different sides of putting people first. I'm talking about the first side in our business of making sure that we are serving our clients and not ourselves through our business. I mean, my business serves me. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to do anything in my business that does not serve me. Yet at the same time, if the only person that my business serves is me and my family, well, then it's really not a business because it's not impacting lives. It's not changing anybody, and they're not compensating me because they're not getting changed, right? So it has to be successful, a business has to serve other people in a way that they are willing to pay and a way that they cannot a way to meet the need they cannot otherwise get met, right? But on the flip side of that, if you're wanting to grow yourself and you're wanting to have others pour into you, find out how to serve them. And it could be monetary, like John Maxwell giving $100 to each of these pastors, or it could even be in service, like finding out what charities are important to this person and positioning yourself to be influential in that charity or to support that charity visibly or to do whatever it takes to be of use to them. We are putting other people first. All right, well that's gonna wrap us up on our first Mindset Monday of 2023. I can't believe how fast the time has flown. You're never good the first time, but in order to get good, you have to start. And so we're going to start. I'm going to start being more intentional with my time, even as I'm being more intentional with my living. I hope this has been a blessing to you. Y'all take care and be blessed.
Love the podcast? Be sure to like, subscribe, and forward to 3 friends. You can ask a question or take a life-changing class at buildingwealthtogether.com. Now, go walk in abundance and leave a legacy.